Okay, well, hello everyone, and welcome to episode 2 of Seed Speaks. My name's Alex Martin, and I serve as the editor of Seed World. And today I'm absolutely thrilled to be your host. Today we're joined by two panelists to talk about one of the next steps after hiring, talking about employee benefits. Um, as we all know, most employees expect some form of benefits when they join a company, but we're here to listen to some tips and tricks of how employee benefits can actually help retain employees for the long run. So with that, I'd like to introduce our two panelists of the day. I am joined by Danny Stowers, U.S. Human Resource Business Partner at RiceTec, and Laura McKee, who is the benefits specialist at Beck's Hybrids. Thank you so much for joining us. I'd like to start today by letting you both tell us a little bit about yourself. So Danny, I'm going to start with you. Would you mind telling us a little bit about yourself and your role with RiceTec?
Sure, thanks. I'm, as you said, the HR business partner here at RiceTec. With that, I oversee the employee life cycle from recruiting, employee relations, development, and training, as well as any investigative or disciplinary actions that may occur along that path. Additionally, I work closely with our different divisional leaders on business needs and initiatives that we've got going on. And I have been with RiceTec 7 years as of today, so it's an anniversary for me.
Oh, absolutely. Congratulations. I'm glad you wanted to spend your anniversary talking to us on Seed Speaks.
Absolutely.
Oh, that is fantastic. Well, thank you so much, Danny. And Laura, I'm going to ask you the exact same question. Tell us a little bit about yourself and your job at Beck's Hybrids.
Yes, so I'm Laura McKee. I am our benefits specialist. And oddly enough, I am at 7 years and 1 month in my role. So 7 must be a lucky number. I joined the team in June of 2014. I actually hired in as the HR compliance specialist, which quickly evolved into me being the benefits administrator as well. Most of my career has been spent in the benefits world, so that made sense to add that piece on to me. So I'm responsible for the day-to-day administration of employee benefits, claims issues, life events, open enrollment, but I also partner with our broker and my manager to go through and create the plan design, look at making sure that we're staying competitive, and go through and present that information to our owners each year during the annual renewal. Additionally, I partner with our personal health coach to oversee our personal health program, which is our corporate wellness initiative.
Fantastic. You brought up something I'm going to come back and ask you about later, which is being competitive. But I figured we should start off with some questions. And my first question I have written down for Danny. So Danny, I know RiceTec is actually rather a global company. So I wanted to start by asking you a rather easy question, or maybe it's not an easy question, but can you tell us some of the benefits employees receive when they choose to work at RiceTec in the US?
Sure. Our benefits are much like the package you would get at any other large company. We've got medical, we've actually got 3 different medical plans. You can choose from an HSA, an FSA, or one of the more traditional PPO plans. We have a very robust wellness program. We use a third party called Vitality that helps keep our employees on track with some different challenges and some rewards that can come along with that. We have the ability for virtual doctor visits that are in place through our United Healthcare plan. Of course, dental vision, short-term disability, accidental death, long-term vacation, holidays. We've added over the last few years volunteer time off. This has become very important to a number of our employees. At this time, you can get up to 8 hours of volunteer time off in 1-hour increments if you want to participate in local or other type of nonprofit events. We do a roadside cleanup here as one of our community outreach programs, and so they can participate in that and receive pay for it. It started off a little slow, but we've had a great push to get that, and we're looking at expanding that to add additional hours for those employees who are interested. Of course, we have a matching 401k program, tuition reimbursement, employee assistance programs, and we also have pet insurance for those whose pet is family. We also have some insurance for those as well.
Oh, that is awesome. And I'm sure your employees really appreciate having some things like that volunteer time off. I mean, I'm sure that not only encourages them to get involved in the community, but it also encourages them to get excited about getting involved in the community because they don't have to worry about some penalties like that.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that is absolutely exciting. And having pet insurance, how fun is that? I definitely do not have pet insurance, but maybe I should look into that. But Laura, you're bringing to the table such a different experience than Danny's, from being a global company to coming from one of the largest independent seed companies in the US. And I know one of the challenges of independent seed businesses is making a benefit package that can potentially compete with some larger corporations, which brings in the aspect of competitiveness I wanted to bring up later. So how is Beck's working to keep their package competitive with some of these larger corporations?
Yeah. So we started with a thorough benefits benchmark analysis. In 2019, we did a complete comparison of not just the traditional benefits, medical, dental, vision, life, disability, but we incorporated retirement plans, PTO, holidays, maternity, paternity, standard office hours, wellness benefits like on-site gyms, any employee recognition items like we have anniversary trips, tuition assistance, adoption, all of that, the full gamut, even, those benefits outside of what you would typically think of when someone says benefits, right? So then what we did is we categorized, or we classified ourselves. We used a ranking system of red, yellow, and green, just so that we could visually see where we land by comparison to some of our competitors in the ag industry, which is where the outside sales and the seed advisor realm is where we have to be most concerned with recruitment and retention. And so we want to make sure that we're in line. And then there were some key areas we identified that we had some room to grow and improve, and other areas where we might not have been exceeding those companies, but we made up for it in other non-traditional type benefits. So that information is hard to obtain. So it wasn't a perfect analysis. You can't just call and be like, hey, what's your benefits package look like? But so we continue to gather that information, and it's an ongoing effort. We've also recently, in the last couple of years, we are visiting a common issue that gets brought to us by our customers and our dealers regarding health insurance. So health insurance for customers and dealers and sole proprietors it plagues them. It can prevent them from being financially successful, things like that. So we are evaluating and looking at options, and have had many conversations with Indiana Farm Bureau and some of the other state farm bureaus who are offering benefit plans to see if there's a way that we can help them succeed in also obtaining health insurance, so that they can be successful in their business. Just a couple other items kind of off the cuff. We have an on-site nurse practitioner. So our employees, regardless of their status, full-time, part-time, or even if they're seasonal, they can see our nurse practitioner as like an urgent care visit for free, no cost, and also regardless of their medical plan enrollment. And then of course we have the traditional virtual visits for spouses or our employees who are in other states who aren't at the Atlanta office. And when I say Atlanta, I mean Atlanta, Indiana. You would never think there was such a thing in Indiana, but it's a tiny little town. And then of course we're evaluating innovative solutions. I'm sure you guys have seen or heard about 401k student loan repayment options. We've evaluated an on-site daycare or a dental clinic, as we have 435 employees at our home office facility. So we even have kids who, get on and off the bus at our home office. We really want it to be a family friendly, like we care about your home life because we know you invest a lot of time in your work life as well.
Right. No, that absolutely sounds wonderful, especially for like you mentioned, the parents who have little ones at home, and that way maybe if the bus stops there, they don't have to stop or go pick them up and then return and come back and worry about losing time, especially if they're on time focused tasks.
Yeah.
I did get in a question from the audience. I'm going to start by asking it to you, Laura, because I think you kind of touched on this aspect a little bit with talking about having a nurse practitioner on site. But Danny, if you'd like to chime in afterwards, I would be absolutely thrilled to hear what you have to say too. This question asks, has the pandemic altered what employees are expecting from their benefit plans? The pandemic, I know, caused so much worry and anxiety to people. I know a lot of people were really hesitant still going back to work and back to the office, and some offices haven't even returned to the office. So have you, when hiring employees in this pandemic, seen any different demands than usual?
Yes, so we have a pretty robust onboarding program. So that's, maybe the first line of contact for when we're hiring new employees in. We like them to come on site and spend a long time with us to feel how their role plays a part in the bigger picture of Beck's and in our success, and then also be immersed in the culture, particularly for someone who would be remote or be working at one of our offsite locations. So we've been flexible and made a lot of those sessions virtual. So if someone's not comfortable coming on site and sitting there or staying in a hotel for a week or 2 weeks, depending on where you work, depends on how long your onboarding is, we do a lot of our sessions virtual for onboarding now. And then in addition to that, we did talk about virtual visits and our nurse practitioner. So she is in our home office in Atlanta, but we are also very conscientious about wanting to make sure that we're offering our benefits to our regional site and our remote employees as well. So particularly during the pandemic, she has even opened up and done her own virtual visits outside of our virtual visits through our medical plan to those employees as well. And we're looking to continue that. And then I know another ask that I've gotten frequently is to provide our employees with information. And we've actually gone so far as provide it to dealers as well about different mental health resources. So obviously promoting the employee assistance program, but then there are a lot of different programs available. A lot of them have come to light due to the pandemic to people based on what their state looks like. So just disseminating that information and connecting them to the right people based on their needs.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And I know mental health is not something that is often talked about in a work-related setting, but I know it's becoming a lot more, especially in agriculture, it's becoming a much bigger topic as I think I can't remember the statistic off of the top of my head, but farmers have a staggering suicide rate. So it is so important to start talking about that too. So it is wonderful to hear that Bex is looking into that a little bit. Danny,
that same question, yeah. We have not really seen a difference in what they expect from those benefits, but we have seen much more use of them. Just as Laura was suggesting, we've done much more through remote virtual pieces, the virtual doctor visits. That has gone up significantly, as has questions about and use of our EAP program. Again, some of that information is confidential, but we know that they are looking more to use the benefits that were already in place that they hadn't used previously. In agriculture, a lot of our staff works outside. They're sometimes by themselves, they're working in groups. During the height of the COVID, our agronomists, for example, that work with growers, rather than going out and being able to visit with those growers directly, it was going out and calling them from their truck. Hey, I'm looking at your field right now, and here's some of the things that we may need to do, rather than having the face-to-face that goes along with that. Some people are very comfortable with that, some like it, but others, myself included, certainly say I'd much rather be face-to-face with somebody. Extensive use of Teams and other virtual platforms has made that a little bit easier, where instead of even just a conference call where it's voices on the phone, being able to see each other. We've made it a point if we're going to be on a group call, we're going to have our cameras on, see each other, get that interactions, made that a little bit better. Outside of the benefits, specifically, there has been a lot more interest in that flexibility of, can I work remotely? Some of that we did initially with the COVID, just to try to create some separation, some social distancing for those that could. And many have gone, I like this. I find more productivity, or it's more beneficial for me and my household. So we've really been looking at how we can do this, how we can make it work for the individuals as well as the company.
No, that's absolutely wonderful to hear. I had another question that actually I thought of while you were talking, Danny. What happens in terms of sick days lately? Do you feel that sick days are more important to employees right now, especially with I feel like in the US, it was always, if you're sick, you should probably still come to work unless you're just absolutely can't move. Are you finding employees are taking sick days a little bit more seriously? And if they're actually sick, coughing, are they a little bit more hesitant to come to work now?
Absolutely. The use of the sick time, we have seen an increase in that. Some of it is, of course, we're encouraging it much more frequently than we had before. There's no need to power through it, but if they're sick, we have much stronger impulse to them of stay home, get well. Many of them are concerned, and they also, if they have other fellow employees who are exhibiting any symptoms, of course, it was stay home, get well, let's make sure we're taking care of that. The other part of that is other PTO hours, vacation time. In 2020 specifically, many people didn't take planned vacations, and so we were going through and keeping an eye on that. And again, did an outreach of, we still have time. We want you to take this time off, decompress, relax, spend time, perhaps more time with your family than you had planned on before. But whatever you need to do, we've got these benefits for you. We want you to use them, and pushing forward that encouragement. Let's make sure and take advantage of everything that we've got available for you.
Yeah, absolutely. Laura, another question that popped up while Danny was talking. I mean, vacation time, it's a great thing to talk about. And especially when I believe you mentioned that Bex is still working from home mostly. How do you encourage employees to have that healthy, I guess, work-life balance and to take those days off that they need to?
So I'm sorry if I gave you that impression. The majority of our employees are actually back in the office. We did not.
Oh no. Oh no. Oh no. Oh no. Oh no. Oh no. Oh no.
We have, thankfully, our PTO policy allows rollover of hours. So they it's not a use or lose it scenario. We want to encourage them to take it, but our PTO is everything. We don't have separate sick and vacation time. They just support when they need or want to take time off, or having them stay home, just like Danny said. So we do have a lot of employees back in the office. We had employees who never were away from the office in terms of being processing and production, because they couldn't do their job from home.
Absolutely. Danny, we have an audience question that actually ties into one of my questions, so I'm going to ask them both at the same time. It primarily concerns talking about generations and how different generations use their benefits. So this audience question actually asks, are younger or older employees most likely to use their benefits or ask for certain benefits? And my question to tag along that was, do you hear the younger generation, the Gen Zs, the millennials ask for different benefits that maybe the boomers don't ask for?
Well, anecdotally, I seem to hear that some of the younger ones are at least asking more about the benefits that are there. I think traditionally there was kind of a fixed set of benefits. Everyone knew what they were. Go in, you could expect that and go from there. With many companies offering different variations of that, it seems like the younger group are coming in and saying, what do you have and really what does it mean to me? I mentioned that we have 3 different medical plans, an HSA, an FSA, and a PPO. And what we see there is probably the largest difference, in that the older population tends to go with the traditional PPO plan, while the younger ones, who are generally a little healthier, tend to go with some of those other options in there. That's the only thing that we've really been able to put our finger on with some metrics. Other than that, it does seem like we've been discussing more and more about this, and again, with the world turned around with COVID, that the options that are been available have been explored much more thoroughly than they probably have been in the past.
Right, right. Absolutely. No. COVID, I think, has, especially even with the younger generation who is healthy, has, I think, caused all of us to reflect inward a little bit more, to look at our healthcare as a little bit more in depth. Laura, along the same lines, with that younger generation coming in, how is Beck's working to engage with that younger generation, whether that's for benefits or just for general retention?
Yep. So education we found is a key component, and that is a three-pronged type piece. So our average employee age is actually 40 years old, but we do have a fair number of employees who maybe started with us as interns and then evolve into joining us full-time after college. So making sure that those employees, as well as all of the employees and the frontline employees who maybe didn't ask the questions or use their benefits as much, making sure that they understand what benefits are available to them and how they work. I think in agreement with what you said, people are paying more attention to it now, and before it was more of a I'll ask questions when I have to use it kind of situation. So making sure to promote the benefits that you have and make sure that they understand what the benefit offerings are. But another piece of the education is development. So we have an awesome education team. And so we have Beck's leadership development. There's a foundation class, and then there is another more intensive program that people who are looking to develop into a leadership role go through. And it is not only developing you as a Beck's leader, but also providing personal leadership growth. So you don't have to be moving into a leadership position. Our younger generation does seem to be more interested in personal growth and development, as well as advancement opportunities. So even within a number of our roles, whether it's research or production or outside sales, there are different tiers within some of those positions that you can, rather than moving outside of your department or into a completely different role, add on some additional responsibility. Danny had already mentioned earlier, and this has been a big component for us, is the flexibility and work-life balance piece. That COVID has done great things for Beck's from that standpoint, honestly. We have more departments allowing for remote work days, whereas it used to be isolated to kind of our some of our IT people, and our outside sales were obviously always remote. Now other departments, even the HR department, is allowing a remote work 1 day a week, or I would say I'm a prime example of that. I started in Atlanta, Indiana, and last year in August, I thought I was tendering my resignation, and instead was able to continue my position in a remote way. So we've come a long way. And then I mentioned the onboarding piece, so that they get immersed in the culture and really understand what role their position plays, rather than just feeling like they're a number. So, they get to meet the president and see and talk to the president and all these people from different departments to establish those relationships, to really feel like they matter.
Yeah, definitely. And getting that personal growth, like you mentioned, is really important for the younger generation now. Especially not only does Beck's have their education program, but associations like ASTA have their leadership and development program to help people move up and continue developing that leadership role. I think we have time for about one more question, since we have about 5 minutes left. And this one is luckily from the audience. I love ending with an audience question. So Danny, I'm going to direct this to you first, and then Laura, again, if you'd like to jump in, please feel free to. This person wanted to ask, is the labor shortage, if real, causing you to reassess your benefits to get top talent over your competitors?
That is an interesting question. We have, from our seasonal standpoint anyway, seen a much larger struggle this year to get applicants, to get those who would come in, with the extension of unemployment benefits being one aspect of that. They had a lot of additional options, it seems like, this year. We've been working with placement services. Outside of a labor shortage, we evaluate our rates of pay every year, and we actually bumped our rate of pay, our starting level, a couple of dollars per hour this year before we even started our seasonal search. I certainly think that has benefited the company, because as we talk to some of those coming in, they are some leaving other companies where they were earning less, and have indicated that that's one thing that has made this work a little bit more attractive. We added a couple of years ago, actually, for our seasonal employees, what we refer to as a crop cycle position. Agriculture is seasonal. We've got about 3 months out of the year where there's really not much going on. And so to encourage those seasonal employees to come back, we guarantee a raise each year for the first 2 years, a pretty significant raise. As we move into the third year, they become eligible for this crop cycle position, where they have a little higher rate of pay. There's additional responsibilities placed on them. We begin to give them some additional PTO. They have access to our full medical plan and other options that are out there. And then we have added some benefits to help keep them whole during that gap in the work year, to help either maintain insurance or some of the financial aspects, so that it encourages them to return. So we're bringing in that knowledge, that talent, experience back year over year. We've had that in place. This is our third year with that, and that has had a significant boost to the retention of those seasonal employees and the interest in the new ones coming in of how can I stay longer to reach that step so that they can again receive those same benefits.
Absolutely wonderful. Laura, do you have any input to that? Are you having to reassess your benefits to get top talent in this kind of labor shortage?
I would say we haven't changed or reassessed our benefits per se, but more as it relates to pay, kind of like Danny said, particularly with some of our locations. I know there's one particular location in Iowa that has a really difficult time filling some of those seasonal positions. So they may receive a different rate of pay than what someone in Indiana or Illinois may receive. So that has been a big concern. And then we have had a harder time with some of our seasonal labor, right. Particularly high school students, getting them to do some of our seasonal summer work. Our numbers are much lower this year. I'm not sure from that standpoint. I don't think it's related to the extension of unemployment, because they are kids that are working. Right. And thankfully, in some of those entry-level positions, they continued working. You know, they never experienced a disruption in work. They never went off and were receiving the unemployment. They continued to work. And so we were grateful not to have that impact to our workforce from that standpoint.
That is absolutely fantastic. Thank you so much, Laura. And like I mentioned, everyone, I am so sorry, but that is all the time we have today. I know we didn't get to touch all of the questions we received, but we just wanted to thank both Laura and Danny so much for joining us and for providing all of that insight. We're going to have to revisit and chat with y'all again on seasonal labor. That was a topic we already touched, but it sounds like there's a little bit more meat we can jump into. Just a reminder for everyone watching, if you missed a portion of this live, please don't worry. We're going to be putting the recording up on seedworld.com later today. And if you liked this topic, make sure to tune in next week. We've already heard from Mark Zinkowitz, our editor of Germination, once to talk about remote work, but next week he's going to talk about returning to the office after a pandemic. It's something the US has already started doing, but it's something Canadians are working to start doing as well now. It should be a really interesting follow-up to his last session. So just thank you so much, everyone, and we'll see you all next week.
Thank you.